Whether you're an industry pro or just starting out, this podcast is for you. As the battlefield of work keeps shifting and the rules keep changing, real connection and unfiltered learning have never been more urgent. Welcome to a space where recruiters, leaders, deep thinkers, and career changers come together to share raw, unfiltered experiences. They say a rising tide lifts all ships, so let's rise together. This isn't just a podcast, it's your everyday survival guide. Welcome to your digital bullpen. Sure, welcome to your digital bullpen.
And he's in a bus.
What? Are you in a bus?
I am in a bus. 1977 VW Pop Top bus.
There you go, Pop Top.
There's a story.
There's some things clicking there. But let's introduce Valentine. If you've been with us, thank you so much for following your digital bullpen. If this is your first episode, you're in for a special treat with Valentine Kapture. He is here with us today. He is the owner of Kapture. It's the premier AI consulting for small, medium businesses and host of Pop Top AI, which I hope we get to talk a little bit about later. LinkedIn's, and we would consider that it's like the 10-minute, game show of the week on LinkedIn. Valentine is a national recognized staffing industry expert. He's been in this industry for 15 years now. And his recruitment expertise and executive leadership for some of the biggest recruiting firms in the world. I know Lee Harrison, Robert Half, but his story doesn't start there. From growing up in his family's grocery store in Michigan to launching Kapture Consulting with literally a rocket scientist, Valentine has redefined what it means to bring tech to the trenches. He's on a mission to make AI accessible, practical, and transformative for small businesses everywhere. Let's welcome Valentine to the show. Welcome, Valentine.
Thank you for having me.
I love it. Tech to the trenches. Tech to the trenches. I love it.
From the bus, where are you located right now in the world of the Pop Top bus?
So I am at the foothills of the Rocky Mountains right now. And I'm actually looking right now at Long's Peak. And so that is one of the highest peaks in Colorado. And just in front of it is the Horsetooth Mountain, which is very well known in Fort Collins.
Yeah.
Do you know that area, Paul?
I do. Horsetooth Lake is up there. I love that.
Okay.
Yeah, good old FOCO. Good old FOCO. Yeah,
nice.
Absolutely. Yep.
FOCO and NOCO.
Well, let's get started because we have a jam-packed episode today. First off, we always like to ask everyone this, Valentine. How did you get into staffing? Who bamboozled you?
Who lied to you and said this is cool?
Well, so I was a background actor in Los Angeles at the time. And so where you actually kind of go for the food because the money is so bad. And you're like, free food.
At least I need today.
Right. So I got a phone call from a recruiter at Robert Half, and they left me a voicemail. And I remember listening to the voicemail, and I'd never heard of Robert Half, and I really didn't know much about recruiting, but I called them back right away before looking into it. And I said, I didn't want to be rude. I wanted to call you back. But I really hadn't thought about getting into the military. And they're like, you're a moron. We're not calling, they do recruiting beyond the military. I'm in Northern Michigan. I didn't know that. And so I still probably should have known that. But anyway, so she got it. She said, no, what we do is professional staffing. We're a third-party recruiting firm, and we help clients find candidates for different disciplines. And I said, I really like helping people. And I really like being an advocate. And so that's how my story started.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
And so here you are 15 plus years later.
Right? In a bus.
In a bus.
I made it.
But this is progressing. He chooses to be in the bus. Let's be honest about this. This is not where he lives.
I will drive this home. I will drive this.
Yes. People are like, so I'm going to
They're
get in
like,
staffing
"What?"
to live in a bus. Not sure this is what we want to do. Well,
Oh,
I love
There
it.
are a ton of career paths. This is
There
another
are.
one.
There are.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So
I love it.
obviously you've gotten into staffing, you've worked with some of the big firms, and now you're doing something totally different, which I love. Tell us a little bit about, when you made that pivot, because there's a lot of folks that are in staffing. We learn a lot, right? You go through trial by fire, we learn, we breathe, you get to good
Yeah.
at the industry, and then you're like, you know what? I'm gonna do something different, and you decide Kapture Consulting. So tell us about what made that shift? Like why?
So it was very organic. When I originally wanted to start Capture, I wanted to go the same direction that I'd been historically, accounting and finance, permanent temp, and the issue that I kept running into, or the circumstance that I kept running into, is I would reach out to these clients, the CEOs, the CFOs of these mid-cap companies, and I would talk to them about my great senior accountant that I have, or my, great controller that I have. And they're like, that's interesting. Like, that is very exciting to talk about.
No.
And so, I mean, unless they had a need, that was
Yeah.
not getting me in the door. What
Yeah.
they
Right.
did want to talk about was, well, what are you seeing when you're talking to other CEOs, other CFOs?
Mm.
What are you seeing around automation? What are
Mhm.
you
Hmm.
seeing around AI and technology? And so the conversation just kept going there. And so I said, well, if I'm going to start my own company and I actually want to get into these companies and I actually want to have conversations that they're interested in, then I need to speak about what they want to speak about, meet them where they're at. And so organically, it transitioned to that conversation. And that's what resulted in me saying, I think that it makes more sense because the demand is there and the conversation is there to go
Yeah,
more of the AI consulting business.
Got
Does
it.
that make sense?
It does. It does. So
absolutely.
tell us about Capture then. I mean, give us your 30-second commercial on what you guys do. I mean, so it's obviously AI is such a big word, right? Like
Yes.
there's AI in my coffee maker. Whatever. So like tell me about how you guys actually work in the world of consulting and AI.
Yeah. So I started here and realized, well, that's not a good place to start. And so started to narrow it down. I mean, was I even off the screen? So starting to narrow it down. And so what Capture does is we help small and mid-sized companies around their AI tech stack and around their current tech stack. We go in, take a look at their systems, do an analysis, and say, hey, before you bring on any new tools, let's take a look at your workflows. Let's see what's working, what's not working, and then we can make decisions based on that analysis, based on data, based on being informed.
Which is fascinating because, like Paul said, it's a big word, AI,
Hmm.
and it can be scary, right? If you're a small business, you're investing in yourself, you are building these teams, and now you hear everybody talking about all of this, right? So, what made you feel like you were the person to kind of build out this tech consulting? Because I think your background, you did some of like the IT, right? If I remember correctly with Robert Half. So
Yeah.
how did those two worlds kind of bridge you to be able to do capture consulting?
Well, I think I felt compelled. I felt called to this mission. I mean, we're
Mm.
Capture at the end of the day is a mission-based company where we focus on small and mid-sized companies. If you are an enterprise company, we will not help you. And so because ultimately I grew up in small business. That
Yes.
is where my heart is. And so I was concerned about the fact that I didn't feel like small and mid-sized businesses were getting the support that they need. We're getting the consulting that they needed in order to make informed decisions. What they were getting a lot of with salespeople coming to them and saying, buy this tool, it's going to be
Yeah.
amazing. You're going to
Oh
be
my
able to
God, yes.
fly at the end of the day, right?
Mhm.
Yes.
And so they were buying these tools and they were getting all sort of technical debt. And so I felt compelled to go to those small and mid-sized companies that are the lifeblood of America
Hmm.
and help them to make informed decisions where they felt like they didn't have the support at the time.
Yeah. And I love that you said like there's so much to be said with, the being sold so many different things, right? Like what typically happens is a CEO, somebody gets sold this really cool tech, they decide to buy it, and then they're like, cool. And everybody's like, what are we doing with this? Right? Like it's like, why did we buy this? Well, it was really cool. Do we need it? Right? It's a shiny object.
Mm-hmm.
So you said that you said that you're also terrified if they don't adopt AI. So it's almost like this double-edged sword. I need to adopt it, but where do I start?
Mm-hmm.
So what are you seeing in the companies that aren't leaning into this? And tell us a little bit about that.
Quite simply, they're falling behind.
Hmm.
And not only are they falling behind, but everybody else is getting a lot faster. So you have
Hmm.
enterprise companies that are adopting these tools and using them to increase efficiencies, using them, unfortunately, in many situations to reduce headcount.
Hmm.
And you have these small and mid-sized companies that are apprehensive, that are saying, okay, we're going to wait a little bit on the sidelines because there's our employees are scared, or we're scared, and we're not sure if it works. And while they're doing that, enterprise companies are like, yeah, you should be scared, don't use it. Woohoo! And they're progressing at
Yeah.
light speed. And so my terror comes from, if they don't adopt, if they don't get informed, right? If they
Hmm.
don't learn what can work for them, then they're going to fall further behind. The gap is going to increase. Small and mid-sized companies are going to be pushed out the door, and then there goes the lifeblood of America. And
Hmm.
Yeah.
that to me is, I mean, even as I'm saying that, I'm emotional
Yeah.
Yeah.
because I know how important it is to have your community and have those small
Hmm.
businesses within your communities, because they're the ones that are sponsoring Little League. They're the ones that
Yes.
you can go into and say, hey, I'm not here to buy something from here, but do you know where I can get this? And they're like,
Hmm.
sure, go down to Betty's place. And if we don't have
Yeah.
that anymore, like where's the community?
Yeah.
Where's
Yeah.
the that's
Yeah.
terrifying to me.
Yeah. And you know where that investment goes to. That investment actually goes to the people that are on the in that community, right? As
In that
opposed to some
community.
CEO overseas, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
and we kind of talked about like, ooh, there's a lot of fear out there. There's a
Mm.
lot of like, scary things around AI. As you're talking to some of these smaller businesses, what are those fears? Because I do know we have a community of small business owners with your digital bullpen. So I want
Yeah.
them
Mhm.
to really take away like, hey, what is truly stopping me from taking it to the next step?
Yeah, no, that's
Excuse
a
me.
good question. I think the biggest fear is, especially for owners and leadership, is how their employees are going to perceive it.
Mm.
Mm,
And because they're going to listen to the propaganda, they're going to listen to, they're trying to replace us, they're trying
Mm.
to get rid of us, right? And
mm,
so and so that's why it's so important that these decisions are being made with your teams in mind,
Yes.
with
yeah,
the rest of the company, where it's not all of a sudden this arrives. And so I think that it's extremely important, because the greatest fear is that individuals will be replaced, and the owners are so worried about that perception from their employees. But
yeah.
the way to get around that, right, is
Yeah.
is to be doing this together and saying, no, this can enhance. This is
Hmm.
Hmm.
a calculator. This doesn't replace you. It just makes your math a little bit quicker, right?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so I think that is the greatest fear, and the best way to overcome it is to do these things together. Is
Hmm.
is to be able to figure out, well, what about your job do you really not like? What about your job is
Yeah.
just the worst? Can we make
Yes.
it
Yeah.
better? Can we
Yeah.
can we make some of those efficiencies to where you're
Yeah.
feeling like,
Yeah.
so,
What are the stuff you really love to do every day? Let's let you do more of that,
Right.
right?
right?
Absolutely. So thinking about that then, so what is a myth or misconception? We talked a little bit about it's going to replace us, right?
Hmm.
Quote unquote. What is a myth or misconception about AI that you wish you could squash forever outside of that?
That the employees don't want it, because
Mm.
they
Mm.
absolutely want it.
Yeah.
I remember I was talking a few months ago. I was talking with the director of accounting and finance for a big company here in Colorado.
Mm.
Yeah.
And she was saying that they went to a big company wide meeting, the leadership, everybody top down, and all of the ICs, all the employees. And the leadership was, we're not an AI company. We don't do AI. We don't adopt. but just out of curiosity, they went to the ICs and they said, you're not going to get let go. This is not on record, but who here uses AI currently? Raise your hand, and everybody raised their
Yes.
hand.
Yeah.
And so it's so interesting because this is being driven oftentimes not from the top down. It's being driven from the ICs up.
Yeah.
And so the idea that employees don't want this, the employees are not adopting this already is a complete misconception.
Yes.
Even from, so this is funny that we're talking about this because at DNS Consulting, we're a two-person team. So kind of like that small business, looking to grow, looking to scale.
Yeah.
And, we started looking at some automation out there, and all of it was like, no, we were, it was immediately like, no, not interested. But once we like leaned in and we started with something that was, and I think Paul's heard me talk about this so much, is like
Yeah.
an interview note taker. I
Hmm.
won't say what company we're using because we're not, but
It's
great
Kapture.
system. It's Kapture Consulting. Kapture built this interview note
You don't
taker
have
for
to hide it.
it literally does the interview how you want it. You feed it the prompts, it records it, it categorizes it for you. We did a submittal from time that the candidate opened to work on LinkedIn to the time we submitted them to like 5 different clients in Phoenix.
Yeah.
The interview time, the submittal time, less than an hour because we knew if we didn't get him out there ASAP, and there's no way in heck we would have been able to do that had
Hmm.
we, if we don't have that. So it just saves time in the areas that I'm like, dude, my brain sometimes is not in a submittal mode. How am I going to make this submittal like fascinating when I'm not
Hmm.
in that mode? And it doesn't matter if you are, it pulls what you need to if you're asking the right questions. So I love that. And that's just kind of an example of maybe how to lean into it. But as you're talking to some of these smaller companies who are initially resistant to it, what do you think has helped make that shift to actually lean in?
Yeah. I think it's interesting because anytime somebody is resistant to something,
Hmm.
whether it be in business or outside of business, what
Yes.
do? You inform.
Hmm.
Because more often than not, people are resistant to something because it's unfamiliar, because they're ignorant, because they are uninformed. And so take it upon yourself. It's such an amazing tool. There's so many opportunities to make
Mm-hmm.
improvement in efficiencies, to make improvements that will make your staff happier.
Hmm.
Take the time to be informed. And so at least it's not, I don't want, I've heard some bad things about it, right? Well, find out for yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
Dig into the stories, look into your industry, see how they're using it now across the street, how your competitors are using it,
Hmm.
and then make your decisions around whether or not it makes sense to adopt at this time, what you should adopt. But be informed. Don't
Yes.
don't listen to what everybody's saying.
Yeah.
Listen to what you take the time to get informed around.
Yep. And I think that there's information is kind of the overload sometime, right? That is happening, especially in this topic. And so a lot of times companies will just adopt the wrong tool or they will adopt it too fast. And
Yeah.
I guess looking at that, what are some of the most common mistakes that you see companies make when they're adopting this tech or the wrong tools?
So I would say that constantly we're running into clients that say, I really wish that we would have talked to Kapture before because we have taken on so much technical debt, so many tools that we were sold by a
Mm-hmm.
really good salesperson,
They were at SIA or somewhere else. And yeah.
right? Right? And they were
Yeah.
like, this booth was amazing, and they had a spinny thing, and we won something. It was
Yeah.
amazing. And so either being sold something or taking on a tool that might work very well for somebody or for some company, but it's
Right.
not built for what they do. It's not
Mhm.
customized for what they do. And then additionally, I think a third thing, so not being built for their company, listening to a good salesperson because of the fact that they spun the wheel.
Hmm.
And lastly, something that their team, the people at their company, they're not adopting, right? It can be the bicycle from ET that flies, or it can
Hmm.
be the hoverboard from Back to the Future too, right? These
Yeah.
are really cool tools, but if people aren't jumping on the hoverboard, or if people don't like bikes, then and they're not adopting it at your company because you didn't talk with them, you didn't include them in the
Hmm.
process, it wasn't something that your company did together,
Mm.
then you're probably going to end up spending a lot of money and incurring a lot of technical debt. And so going back to companies talking to Kapture and saying we really would have wish we would have talked to you ahead of time,
Hmm.
is we don't start with a tool. We
Yeah.
start with, let's take a look at your systems right
Hmm.
now. Let's see what's
Yes.
working, what's not working, and then we can go out and find the tools if it makes
Hmm.
sense, right? But
Yes.
we're in control now.
Right.
Yeah.
And in some cases, they might not need any additional tools. It could just be an adoption of what they have right now, right?
100%. It can be
Yeah.
you're paying a lot of money for this tool and you're
Yes.
not really using it to its full capacity. Let's
Yeah.
let's work on some ways that we can get people behind the adoption. A
Hmm.
lot of times our suggestions have nothing to do with AI. They're just workflow
Hmm.
improvements or
Yeah.
their adoption initiatives.
Yep.
So we're talking about taking on, right, some new systems potentially, like expanding what we have internally. But in your mind, now that you've done a ton of conversations with these smaller companies, is there anything that you feel that companies are clinging on to that they should just like let go of? Have you encountered that yet?
Yes.
Hmm.
It's interesting. There was one company in particular that was using a tool. If they wanted really, that's definitely us because it was really bad. Where they were using a particular tool around leads generation.
Mm,
And this tool was helping them with their LinkedIn outreach and a lot of their LinkedIn engagement. And it was the most cringe worthy thing that you could ever even think of. It was, for instance, an individual might reach out and say, "Hey, I'm interested in working for the company, but you're a national company. What time zone are you on for to set up the interview?" And the follow up would be, "Excellent. We're really excited. Here's an invite." It's like,
Right.
and
Yeah.
that's just a small example. And so the reason I bring that up, even though it doesn't specifically answer the question, I feel like, but the reason I bring that up is because it was a blanket. It was just like some sort
yes.
of comfortable, like it
Hmm.
was like their blankie, something
Yeah.
that like are a baba, where they use it and it just keeps them comfortable. However, wildly ineffective.
Hmm.
Mm,
But we were still had linked outreach, but it was actually hurting you more
mm,
than it was helping you. And so I can't tell you how many times clients are using a tool that is actually hurting them
Hmm.
more than it's helping them, but they just find comfort in the sense that at least there's something being done.
Yeah.
At least
like we
it's
have
changing.
AI.
Yeah, at
Yes.
least we have AI. It might not be, it might it might send messages to your mother saying, you really didn't raise me very well. But at
Yeah.
least
Right.
your mom's getting contact,
Yeah. Yeah. It's the
And
wrong kind of content.
exactly.
right?
Well, and
Well,
so
and like in that scenario, do you feel
yeah.
like that's just like, hey, we implemented it and there's nobody really like monitoring it, or
Mm.
the workflows weren't set up in those scenarios? Like once you kind of assessed it, what was the postmortem that you noticed?
That's a good question. I think it was that they didn't see the forest through the trees.
Mm,
They're so involved that they've got, that's one of 32 processes that we're working on. That's
Hmm.
yeah.
that's one. We have so many things.
Yep.
We don't have the time to actually sit down and look through these workflows or do this analysis. When you do bring somebody in to be able to do that, and I would encourage you, whether capture,
Hmm.
no, whether
Capture,
capture or
capture.
anybody else,
I love
I would
it.
encourage you to do that analysis because so many companies are just too in the weeds
Hmm.
and they don't have the time to be able to look at these tools and say, "Oh
Yeah.
my goodness, we need to sunset this ASAP because it is
Hmm.
just not working for us. But I mean, who
Yep.
has the time?
Right.
Yeah.
And it is true because I mean, most companies now have done such a great job, especially in the staffing space, of leaning up and ensuring that they're running as, as optimized as possible with their manpower, that
Yeah.
it's you don't have that individual that can come in and be skeptical and ask questions and not be afraid to say, you know, this sucks. But
Yeah,
because the company might be super proud of this process that they built, but it sucks, right? It's old. We need
yeah,
Hmm.
to get rid of it. So I guess on that note, so when you're being authentic with a client, right, and you're
yeah.
just trying to tell them this is what it is, when do you tell a client less is more when it comes to AI?
Well, I think more often than not, less is more, to be frank.
Okay. Yeah.
Let me think about that. I think that when it comes to adoption, because adoption is where we're at in a lot of areas right now,
Hmm.
right? I don't think that there's a company out there that says we've got it down, we know exactly what we want to do because it's evolving so quickly as
Very
well.
quickly. Hmm.
And so I think that it's really, really important to take bite-size approaches to any technology,
Hmm.
any AI, to be able to say we're going to try this piece on for size. We're going to try and solve this problem right now that we're working on. And if it works well, then we can go out to the rest of the team and the rest of the company and say, this isn't me saying that this works really well. Look at the data.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Look at the outcome and the improvements that we've made as a result. And if you start from a less is more standpoint, if you start with this big initiative and it flops,
Hmm.
money, technical debt, nobody trusts you. You're
Yes.
fired and you're in a bus.
You're in a bus. You choose to be in this bus. Let's remember
Yeah, we
this.
just, I'm driving home. I'm driving
The
home.
bus down by the river. Oh my gosh, take me back to Saturday Night Live. Oh my goodness.
Well, and I love everything that you're saying. You're coming from such a great perspective. Like you've worked with the big companies. I think we've all worked with the big companies. We see
Yeah.
what works great within these organizations. We see where things are lacking in these big organizations. Now you're kind of going back to your roots, building, your own business, kind of following in your dad's footsteps a little bit. As people are listening to this, what's maybe one piece of advice that you'd give to someone launching their own firm or even maybe reconsidering just doing a complete career change?
Well, I'll go with launching your own firm because anytime you're launching your own firm, you have to promote the business. You have to do the business development. You have
Mhm.
to be the one leading that charge. And so I think that I would absolutely use AI and leverage that on the administrative side,
Mhm.
on the internal side, on helping you to prioritize and have your checklist each day. Because I truly believe when it comes to owning a small business or starting a small business, that failure to plan is a plan to fail. I
Mhm.
really
Yes.
do believe that. But when it comes to the outbound, that's not AI to me.
Mhm.
No.
That's my emails that I send out, I write them.
Mhm.
The phone calls when I'm picking up the call or the phone and making calls, that's me doing that. And
Yeah.
so all of my outbound and all of my business development efforts come from me, and that needs to be, as a small business owner, in my opinion, that needs to be the focus. The
Mhm.
business development, the sales, the growing the business, everything else, the administrative, all that internal stuff, put that on AI, right?
Yeah.
Get that on
Yeah.
AI and focus on going outbound yourself. And that's a recipe for success, in my opinion.
I love
I
it.
love it. So where can people, I mean, obviously you're in a van or a bus.
So you can
Where
look for the
It's
bus,
a
yeah,
but
bus.
so
It's
people
a
are probably going to
bus.
have to follow you. So it's probably hard to do it physically. Where can people actually like you have a lot of different outlets. I think you have some game show. Like tell us a little bit about how people can be involved with Capture and like because obviously, we love what you're doing with your organization. How can people be part of your journey now that you're part of ours with the digital bullpen?
Yeah, no, I'm very excited to be a part of this. Thank you.
Yeah.
And so, well, you have my website, which is capturing.ai. So it's capture with a K,
Yes.
Kapture, ing.ai. And then I have my weekly game show, the most exciting 10 minutes of your work week on LinkedIn,
Absolutely.
which is Pop Top AI. And on that show, you have the opportunity to learn how other staffing firms are leveraging AI, the perspective that other staffing leaders have around AI, what's working, what's not working. And so that's another avenue. Those are the two biggest avenues other than your standard LinkedIn Valentine Kapture. Hello.
Yeah. I love
Love
it.
it.
Amazing.
Make sure you follow him. We'll make sure to add those links on the episode
Yes.
when we post.
Yeah.
So we'll make sure people can connect with you. And we're going to
Thank you.
wrap it up with our final four. This is really to get to know you,
Yeah.
maybe a little bit outside of the bus.
Hi, Steve.
Or in the bus. You never know what's in
Or
the
in the
bus.
bus, yes. But what's a passion of yours outside of work that most people wouldn't expect?
Oh, wouldn't expect because I was gonna go with camping. But I think that they would probably expect that. You know, I would say that my passion is my kids.
Mhm.
I
Yes.
I mean I'm an OM coach. I'm a Odyssey of Mind coach. I'm a little league coach.
That's
I'm an
awesome.
assistant for soccer because they would not let me be a coach because I don't know any of the rules.
Those rules are tricky.
They are tricky. So I would say that everything to me is being a dad, and everything to
Yeah,
me
that's
is my
awesome.
two boys.
Two boys. Excellent.
And well, so growing up in a family business, it obviously shaped your career and who you are. What's like a non-work lesson from that time that you carry with you today, or something that kind of like really is just it's part of your DNA?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's somewhat work related, but it's much more people related than anything because I've never really looked at work as anything other than people.
Hmm.
And I think that what my father and I remember so many conversations. So we had a small grocery store in northern Michigan called Kapture's Corner. And I remember several interesting conversations between my mom and my dad, where my mom would say, you know, Valentine, that was my father's name as well. You can't keep giving out all these groceries. You can't keep, you know, letting everybody be have these massive tabs, right?
Yeah.
And but that business ended up becoming very successful because the people were just as invested in Capture's Corner as we were,
Hmm.
because they
Yeah.
saw that it was about more than a business, that it was about the community, and it was about making sure that everybody in the community was taken care of.
Yeah.
And that was something that always resonated with me to say that you can't chase success or you can't
Yes.
chase money. You have to chase being a good person
Hmm.
and taking
Yes.
care of people. And if you do that, then everybody else is going to come along with you and the success will follow.
Yes.
And that's
Yeah.
something that my father he walked that walk, and my mom stopped yelling at him.
And now
And
you're only in therapy like 3 times a week.
right, right. And I know therapy's good.
Therapy's
Yes,
great.
it's fantastic.
He's growing in therapy now.
Right, right.
No, and I
Valentine!
mean, I just love these types of stories, and Paul knows this about me. I just love a good underdog story,
Mhm.
and the goodness that comes out of that level of mentality. And it comes back in return, right? So, um, third question, what's something quirky or unexpected that you're really curious about lately?
Uh,
I could go a lot of directions.
right?
We're
Well,
PG-13-ish, loosely on
well,
the ish.
Well, so 80s PG-13 because that was more like rated R. But no, I think that what I'm interested in, that was why I started as I think about quirky.
Yeah.
And the reason that I started the game show is because I'm very interested in podcasts and the evolution of LinkedIn and
Mm,
how it's becoming much more focused on video. And
Mhm.
so
yes.
that's where my interest started in, okay, well, podcasts, it's interesting. Videos, though, those are interesting. But some folks approached me about starting a podcast, and I said, I don't think that I would be very good at doing a podcast simply because of the fact that I never think I'm good at doing things that other people are good at.
Mm.
But I don't know if that makes any sense, but I try not to do things that other people are doing very well right now. I try to find something that not a lot of other people are doing well and try to do that well.
Mm.
And so I looked up game shows on LinkedIn and I really couldn't find any. And so I said, well, maybe I could do that really well because
Yes.
other people aren't really doing that. And
Yes.
so I sacrificed a ton and I focused on watching a lot of Price is Right and a lot of Wheel of Fortune. It was so hard. It was so hard.
Love.
But watching a
You're
lot of
doing the good work. The good work.
right. It's my cross to bear. And and so I think that the quirkiness of me is that I will never choose the direction that other people choose. I will desperately try and search for the path less forged and try to do that well. And
Yeah.
so the jury's still out. I'm definitely not going to say that I'm doing it well, but I'm certainly trying, and we'll see how that works out.
Yes,
Love
I'm
it.
excited for that game show.
Yeah.
So,
I'm gonna check that out. Well,
yes, there was a good one that just popped up. Was it last week or was it
Uh,
2 weeks ago?
so there's a lot of controversy around that. We've
Okay,
still got a lot of
there's a
behind the
debate. Yes.
there's a lot of behind the scenes battle with Linnell Flint and Annie Ernst.
A
oh,
rematch, I
And
hear,
so
potentially.
yeah.
I'm really excited about that.
That's
Um,
awesome. That's awesome.
but it was a lot of fun. We had Linnell Flint, we had Annie Ernst, and we had Curtis Hine, and they are all big influences within the staffing industry. And
Yes.
then as a surprise judge, we had
Yes.
Jamie Lupo, who is everybody's favorite staffing consultant.
I
Yes.
love it.
Yes.
Uh,
Okay, last question. We're gonna wrap it up. What is something that you are grateful for today?
I am grateful for the lessons that my father bestowed
Mm,
on me years ago. One thing that's interesting is he passed away a lot of years ago, but I continue to learn from him
mm,
mhm.
because I continue to pull from different insights, things that he told me years ago that didn't make any sense to me.
Mhm.
sure.
I'm like, oh, it's interesting, Dad.
Yeah.
Um, but now as a father,
Mhm.
and watching my kids grow, now as a business owner, I'm starting to take all those things that he told me all those years ago, and I'm starting to apply that now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I'm very thankful for having had a father that walked the walk, that didn't talk a lot, but when he did talk, it mattered. And I'm very thankful that I listened because all of those things are starting to come back now as a
Yeah.
father and a business owner.
I love it. I love it. And I will tell you, we're very grateful for you, Valentine, for
Yes.
joining us today. And your
Thank you.
passion obviously shows through in everything you do. And
Yes.
it's always great to have you on, and can't wait to continue to see your adventures grow.
Thank
Yes.
you.
I want to be part of that adventure, that journey, so that
Yes.
you can
Mira, you
fix.
already know you're a part of it. We're coming up on an episode.
I know. But I
Teaser
just,
alert.
I love the idea that you've made that your mission to
Yeah.
make AI accessible and that there's so much passion behind small businesses. And
Mhm.
I don't know that we've had anybody come on this show with that level of passion and that
Yeah.
level of vision in terms of
Yeah.
small businesses. So Let's support Valentine. We'll make sure to put all the links in the notes and all that good stuff. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
He's going home, we promise.
Valentine, thank you so much. I can't wait to share this with the world, and
Yes.
can't wait to keep seeing your story. Thank you again for joining us today on your Digital
Thank
Bullpen.
you both.
If you guys liked it, share it, smash that like button, retweet, whatever we do, and have a great day. Good to see you, my friend.
Digital Bullpen is amazing. Thank you so much. Can't wait to see you guys progress as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.